The girl who would not yield, 1828 to 1842. The city of Kashi, now called Varanasi, was filled with the chanting of priests, the ring of temple bells, and the gurgling current of the holy Ganga. It was here, in a humble Brahman home close to the Ghats, that a child was born under the constellation of fire. The midwife, her eyes wide with wonder, said she had never seen a newborn gaze so intensely into her eyes. She was christened Mani Karnika, after the cremation ghats where life and death meet. Her mother, Bhagirthibai, passed away in early childhood, and her father Moropant Tambe, a court retainer of the Peshwa, brought her to Bithur, where she grew up in the royal palace of Peshwa Bajirao II. But this girl was not brought up to be a bride. She raced horses through the palace grounds, climbed trees in her silk robes, sparred with wooden swords, and spent long hours at the feet of yogis and warriors alike. Her companions were Nana Sahib and Tatya Tope, both sons of noble Maratha lineage, both trained in the arts of war. They grew up as siblings, comrades, and sometimes rivals. While the other court ladies stitched in silence, Manikarnika studied the Bhagavad Gita, debated politics, and practiced horseback archery. She could break a wild horse with a whistle, fight her swords simultaneously, and was reported to be capable of shooting a bow while riding on a galloping horse. She was different from the rest. She was a tempest curled up in a sari. 2. The Crown of Jhansi, 1842 to 1853. At the age of 14, Manikarnika was wedded to Maharaja Gangadhar Rao of Jhansi, a scholar and a cultured gentleman who was almost 2 decades older than her. On marriage, she was named Lakshmibai, after the goddess of good fortune. She stepped into the stone fort of Jhansi not as a shy bride, but as a queen determined to mold her kingdom. Jhansi, ringed by hills and rivers in the midst of Bundelkhand, was no great empire, but with Lakshmibai in charge, it was a kingdom of fierce pride. She surrounded herself with statecraft, learned the geography of British-held India, and started writing letters to reformers and revolutionaries all over the subcontinent. The couple had a son, but soon tragedy hit. He died in infancy. In deep sorrow, they adopted a child from the royal family, Damodar Rao. But fate struck once again. The Maharaja, already weak, fell ill and passed away in 1853. Lakshmibai was only 25, a widow in a patriarchal world, and the British spotted their opportunity. 3. The Tiger Caged, 1853 to 1857. Under the doctrine of lapse, the British East India Company announced that Jhansi had no rightful heir and insisted it be annexed. A pale, arrogant British officer came with a scroll of authority. The widowed queen faced him, wrapped in white, her eyes blazing with silent rage. "I shall not surrender my Jhansi." The words dropped like iron. The British brushed her protests aside. They assumed control of the administration. Her pleas in London were disregarded. But the Jhansi population did not forsake their queen. She started to construct, not palaces, but fortifications. She retrained the army, enlisted women in the cavalry, and established a spy ring throughout central India. Cannons were forged in clandestine blacksmithies. Warriors were trained under the light of the torches inside the palace walls. Bundelkhand's war drums began to pulsate. She awaited a spark. 4. The Flame Ignites, 1857. In Meerut, in May 1857, the first shot was fired when Indian troops rebelled. The uprising spread like wildfire. Bahadur Shah Zafar in Delhi was proclaimed emperor by the sepoys, and throughout India, princely states revolted. Jhansi also erupted. Rebel troops slaughtered British officers inside the cantonment. Although Lakshmibai had denied instigating the carnage, the British held her solely responsible. She proclaimed independence and regained the throne. Attired in red and gold, she stood on the ramparts of the fort, the royal banner of Jhansi billowing behind her, and spoke to the people. "This earth has sucked the blood of your fathers. Will you now allow it to be snatched by foreigners? Take up arms, sons of Bharat, and fight." The Siege of Jhansi, 1858. By the start of 1858, Sir Hugh Grove's British troops advanced on Jhansi with artillery and veteran soldiers. Lakshmibai geared up for war. All city gates were defended. Women showered boiling oil from the battlements. Children ran messages via tunnels. The queen rode daily along the parapets on horseback badal, blessing soldiers and planning with her generals. The siege started. 2 weeks of cannon fire broke the defenses of the city. But Jhansi did not fall. The queen organized counterattacks at night. Her white stallion became a legend, appearing like a ghost among enemy camps. But the walls finally cracked. British troops broke into the fort. Defiant, Lakshmibai tied her son to her back, remounted Badal, and jumped from the southern wall of the fort, crossing the trenches below. Badal was killed on impact, but she escaped. 6. The Last Stand at Gwalior, June 1858. She escaped to Kalpi, united with Tatya Tope, and occupied Gwalior, one of the most powerful forts of India. There they proclaimed freedom, if only for a moment. But the British moved quick. On 17th June 1858, on the plains outside Gwalior, Rani Lakshmibai endured her last battle. With a warrior's turban on her head, with sword at her side, she rode at the head of her soldiers. The British described her thus afterwards. She was fighting desperately, dressed as a man, mounted on a charger, sword in hand. She was shot off her horse. Wounded, bleeding, she dragged herself under a neem tree and summoned a sadhu who happened to be present. "Burn my body," she told him, "let no Englishman touch me." He complied, and that night, as the fire of a pyre climbed into the dusk air, a storm swept across the Gwalior plains. Epilogue: The legend lives. Rani Lakshmibai was 29 when she died, a queen, a warrior, and a martyr. British commanders referred to her as the bravest and best of the Indian leaders. Indian poets rendered her immortal. बुंदेले हरबोलो के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी. खूब लाड़ी मर्दानी, वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. From the lips of Bundela warriors, we have heard the tale. She fought with valor like a man. She was the Rani of Jhansi, Lakshmibai of Jhansi. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.